Now, joining us to discuss this is a public affairs analyst, Theophilus Akatugba. Hello, Theophilus. Thank you for joining us at this time.
Yeah, good afternoon. And it's a pleasure to join you this afternoon.
Good afternoon. All right, now let's start by knowing what you make of the new minimum wage impasse. I'm talking about the offer of, the government and what organized labor is asking for.
Well, my opinion is that it has always been a very difficult issue everywhere in the world where minimum wage issues are concerned. The workers are always, fighting and agitating for livable wages, whereas the government is always looking at the economic situation and the very many circumstances that confronts it, especially the fear of the impact of the minimum wage on the economy in terms of employment, because it is easy to fix the minimum wage, but if it is something that places an undue burden on the employer will choose not to employ, especially now that we are in the age of robotics, AI, and artificial intelligence, that all manner of machines are substituting human labor. So the government is being careful and the workers are making a just demand, but then there must be an equilibrium. I feel uncomfortable that we are discussing national minimum wage at the time that even the federal government has taken the governors to court over local government autonomy. So if local governors are autonomous, local governments are autonomous, they should be able to determine their minimum wage based on circumstances that confront them, because the living conditions in Lagos are not the same with the living conditions in Delta or Zamfara or somewhere in far Akwa Ibom or So we must have that conversation. Now, that is my opinion in respect of minimum wage conversation, and I think we must be dynamic. We cannot have one rule fits all.
Okay. Now, in talking about the National Assembly resolving to ensure that states and local governments, and organized private sectors do not default in paying that particular minimum wage when it comes out, governors have actually said that they cannot afford the last proposal of 62,000 naira. In fact, they even said they can't afford 60,000 naira. That's the last proposal made by the federal government, with some states yet to even start paying the 30,000 naira wage, which took effect since 2019. Now, where does that leave labor with the present day reality?
Well, it's a challenge for labor, but I believe that the governors should be allowed to determine the minimum wage that they can pay. That also will determine the flow of labor, either from them or towards them. We run a federation, and one minimum wage across the country has a tendency to make it to be a disadvantage. Someone who lives in Lagos, who pays higher rents, higher cost of living, higher cost of commuting, should not be seen to be receiving the same wage with someone who lives in an area where those costs are not the same. However, a lot of the governors have overemployed. A lot of them have employed for political reasons, and they have a very huge wage bill that is not commensurate with productivity. And so they are saying this because they want to retain the workforce. I feel that you cannot, because you want to retain the workforce, keep others in perpetual poverty. In my opinion, the minimum wage of Nigeria is a wage that incubates poverty. That's why over the years, Nigeria has been in the business of poverty development instead of making people prosperous. Everything Nigeria has done has kept people in poverty. Our minimum wage is the lowest in Africa, is the lowest anywhere in the world. It's a disgrace, and it's actually callous. So the governors must consider all this and stop saying they can't afford it. Those who have not been able to pay, because governors and many of the states are not actually productive, they are not viable, because citizens live in states. If there are productive activities in states, Nigeria will prosper. But the governors are still behaving as an unproductive system. Because if you pay more, you should expect more. Why are you afraid of minimum wage? Does it mean that you believe the workforce cannot produce more than they are producing currently when they are properly motivated. So I do not agree with the governors, even though what they are saying, to a large extent, is true that they can't pay because they've been unproductive.
Okay, yes, that's why a lot of people have, a lot of analysts and, Nigerians alike have actually said, the economy needs to be moved to, a production economy. And even at that, some are also of the opinion that, governors have refused, that word, to pay the current minimum wage of 30,000 naira due to lack of sanctions. Now, would you say that this move being considered by the National Assembly is a welcome development?
It will fail flat. It's just an exercise in futility. You see, you cannot do that, and the governors will defeat the national. The law will not pass. I do not believe you have to force them when they do not have the resources. There's a lot of implication. If you approve 60,000, many governors will lay off workers in order to be able to pay this money. Private sector might lay off workers in order to be able to pay any minimum wage that is not that does not take cognizance of the realistic economic situation, the realistic buying power of the people. Because no matter how you want to manufacture, if the people do not have the buying power, your company cannot flourish. You are in the media, for example, there is a minimum at which your media organization can pay. Otherwise, they rely on advertising for revenue and every other source. If those sources are challenged economically, how do you make your money? So we need to make the economy first a productive economy. To move it to an economy of production required motivating the workforce. So the minimum wage is a critical subject. I believe that 60,000 is quite small compared to economic realities. And I do not expect anything less than 100. And that the governors cannot pay is a challenge. I believe we're going to have a lot of problems if we do not manage this process very well, and we emotionally fix a minimum wage that will further result in loss of jobs.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Theophilus, for speaking to us on this. We appreciate you for your time.
It's a pleasure being here with you. Enjoy.